coming off of Survivor Series with the WWE, and we're moving into NXT Deadline this upcoming weekend. And NXT pay-per-view, to be fair, and NXT, we talk about, their pay-per-view. Sometimes they're just like TV specials, and sometimes they're pay-per-views. So let me ask you a quick question about NXT Deadline. This NXT Deadline pay-per-view, are you more impressed with this card than you would be with a NXT TV special event? Let's just say like the first week that NXT was on CW in Chicago. Would that have been more of a draw to you than this pay-per-view card? Or do you think that this is a solid pay-per-view card?
I don't think it's bad. I think right now, I think it's a good product. I think what they're doing is that, and like we just talked about with with AEW, they're building storylines. They're putting good stories together. So for me personally, the matches should be good. The competitors, they do a great job, but it's also they're building stories the right way. So either way, I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have the NXT Championship on the line with Trick Williams and Ridge Holland. But, obviously we have these Iron Survivor challenges that both are just number one contenderships. The rules are something, right? We've probably talked about these before, right? If you haven't, you need a refresher. It seems like every year, right? 5 wrestlers. The match lasts 25 minutes. 2 wrestlers start the match. That begins the timer. And every 5 minutes, similar to like a War Games, another wrestler enters. And with the 5th and final participant entering at the 15-minute mark, so essentially 2 wrestlers start, then 3 enter. Each time a wrestler scores a pinfall, submission, or disqualification, they gain a point. Points can be gained even before other participants have entered, meaning that while you're waiting to get in there, other people can be getting points. So it's not like War Games. The match doesn't start when everyone enters. It starts right away. And then a wrestler who is submitted, pinned, or gets disqualified has to enter the penalty box for 90 seconds, which means obviously they're ineligible to be getting points for 90 seconds. And the whole the match lasts 25 minutes in total. So that's after 25 minutes, whoever has the most points wins.
Let me ask you this. It's a little
bit complicated.
Of the two, which one do you like? Do you like the women's or the men's better? I personally think the women's match would be better.
I think it's interesting because you got some of the bigger name women in there, right? Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, right? Those are some of the big women.
Don't forget about Ren Sinclair. She's from No Quarter Catch Crew. Like she's been coming on lately, and how she got into this match, she literally got knocked out and fell into the pin and won the match on this past week on NXT. So she's been. Here's the thing. I'm glad she's in this match. I don't think she's gonna win. But Ren Sinclair, she's a very talented young lady. I've watched some of her work in recent months. I think she could be one of those diamonds in the rough that we could be talking about down the line. So I like this match. If I had to pick somebody to win, it's obviously going to be between Vaquer and Julia. I'll just, for the sake of arguments, I'll take Vaquer on that.
In the men's match, man, you got people like Wes Lee, Nathan Frazier, who's part of Axiom. You got Ethan Page and Javon Evans as well in there, and Eddie Thorpe. It's going to be entertaining. Wes Lee and Nathan Frazier, I think, will be very entertaining in the match. On top, and Javon Evans as well. I imagine a lot of dives out of the ring and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to a little bit of the fact that Nathan Frazier is also in a tag team championship match with No Quarter Catch Crew. So he's going to do double duty that night, which again, with only a 5-match card, is interesting to say the least, just because of the fact that obviously, you're having somebody do double duty in a 5-match card. And then this NXT.
This 5-match card, though, this is WWE in a nutshell right now for these premium live events.
And I do wonder, do you think that between each match you're going to have as many commercials as you did, like, let's say, between Survivor Series, which is like 15 minutes? Yeah,
that whole thing, that's the thing that irritates me a little bit. Like
that's why they have 5-match cards, right? Because they drag it out with the commercials in between.
Well, the problem is, like, I like the 5 matches, or maybe like 6 matches. Like, you've been to more live events, especially recently. It's like, how does that feel from being in the audience where you're like, all right, let me just sit here and wait for 10 minutes for the next match?
So obviously, we talk about AEW, which has like 13 match cards and 4 hours and no breaks because they can barely fit it in the 4 hours that they have, 4 hour and a half that they have, right? And then WWE doing these 5-match cards where they do it in about 3 hours. So it's not super short. It's a regular length of a pay-per-view. I don't mind it because at the end of the day, I prefer this to more matches because it's easy to digest 5 matches. And here's the thing. When you go to a Monday Night Raw, this was always my number one complaint, that Raw was 3 hours long and it was full of commercials, because commercials are just thrown in like an entrance for a match and then boom, a commercial. You know what I mean? Or a match and then a long commercial and then a commercial within a match. Stuff like that. I don't like that breakup. But it's between the matches. Once the match starts, it's all on the match. It's between the matches. I think that's fine. It obviously makes it so that you're not there for only 90 minutes. No one's complaining that they're not getting enough time at the arena. And overall, I think that if you're not a big wrestling fan, or you were dragged there by a wrestling fan and you don't maybe necessarily know everybody, it's easier to digest, like the War Games. It's easier to digest Deadline because, like, I'll use an example with the War Games. 2 of those matches are War Games matches. They specifically have a purpose. They're going to be a lengthy period of time. They've got that interesting stipulation, similar like the Royal Rumble. And then outside of that, like, name match, like with NXT Deadline, where it's the Deadline matches, the Iron Match, Survivor matches that are the highlight. Outside of those matches, a non-wrestling fan or a fan who's just a casual fan only has to worry about 3 other matches, and those matches must have somewhat importance because they're on this card. I look at the upcoming Royal Rumble, right? If I was to take somebody who's a casual wrestling fan, it's easy to say, you got the Royal Rumble, then you have the Women's Royal Rumble. So 2 big Royal Rumbles, that's the heart of this thing. And then the other 3 matches, which is just 3 matches, are going to be significant. You're going to have like world championship matches or big tag team matches or big feuds or something like that, because there's only 3 spots on this card. Like, look at Saturday Night Main Event. There's already probably going to be more than 5 matches on that card, and it's a TV show in a 2-hour time limit. So I think it's just easier to digest because you can focus. It's like when you go to a sports game, there's 2 teams. That's easy to pick. One team versus another team. Yeah. That's all you got to focus on. So with 5 matches, it's easy to say, like, okay, I can identify who all these people are. I can identify all the reasons for these matches. 2 of the matches have interesting stipulations that are going to keep me entertained, like the Iron Survivor Challenge or the War Games at Survivor Series. Yeah. So I only have to really watch 3 traditional matches. And those matches are going to have huge stipulations, like the world titles on the line. It's way easier to digest and understand than an AEW pay-per-view where it's 14 matches. And
we're getting on an underground match as well with Jada Parker and Lola Vice. And I don't know if you saw NXT this week. Jada Parker knocked out Lola Vice. So we'll see. That was a great way to sell that because they were really building that up pretty good on NXT this past week. And they set it up where they're just setting up the match. And then out of nowhere, Jada Parker knocks out Lola Vice. Lola sold it very well and setting up a really interesting match between these 2 ladies this weekend.
I would rather have like an NXT card. Like let's be fair, right? I probably know more people in AEW than I might in NXT because of just obviously they're bigger names in AEW. NXT is still at the developmental level. They're always kind of bringing up people that I may not be familiar with sometimes, so it's not just name brand people. But I'll be able to understand and to identify, if I watch all of NXT Deadline, what I saw better than if I watched an AEW pay-per-view, because it's easier to focus. You have 5 matches. Every match, like there's only 1 NXT Championship match. There's only 1 underground, there's these 2 Survivor matches, which have their own importance. Yeah. Just easier to digest when you see less people. It's just easier to, like I said, when you go to a Royal Rumble pay-per-view and there's 2 Royal Rumbles and then a world title, a world heavyweight title, and a women's title match, it's like, I know what I saw. I saw the 2 Royal Rumbles, and then I saw championship. Like, easy to understand, easy to
all I got to say is, WWE's getting their money's worth out of Nathan Frazier this weekend. 2 matches in one night. So good luck to him this weekend.
And, I will say to the people watching at home or people in arena, the one thing you talk about and what it's like, it's not horrible. You know why? Because I'm so used to having gone to wrestling, like WrestleManias of the past, where there's no time to go and get food. There's no time to go and get to the bathroom because you're going to have to miss something. So of these 5 matches, the positive is you don't have to miss anything. You can go and you can go to the bathroom. You can go get something to eat. You can go to the concession stand and you don't have to miss something and sacrifice. Like an AEW show, a good example, I had to sacrifice I had to sacrifice half of a match because they just went match after match after match. So once a match ended, I ran to the concession stand and literally, I mean, under 4 minutes, they were already ringing the bell on the next match. And it just wasn't possible for me to get to the seat in time. So I'm missing something in that setup. And I was missing something in even going to WrestleMania back in the day. Yeah. So this is a nice way to make it so that you're not missing anything. You're seeing all the matches and they're easily digestible. I like 5-match cards. WWE is doing great with them. I think they should continue. Eric Bischoff, he thinks NXT is the revolution over AEW. What do you make of that little dig on NXT TV heading into Deadline?
I mean, it's on brand for Eric Bischoff. You know how he feels if you listen to 83 Weeks. You know, I'm a very loyal listener of Eric Bischoff's 83 Weeks. So yeah, I mean, he's been throwing shots at AEW for a long time, and it's not. And here's the thing that AEW, I'll say, internet wrestling community fans that are AEW fans, they misconstrue it where he's an AEW hater. No, he's being critical of the product because he wants them to be successful. He like this whole thing where he hates AEW it's a bunch of crap. It's more he wants to see them do better and learn from the mistakes that he made because 83 weeks they were on top, so to speak. WCW over WWE. He wants to see more competition, and if you listen to the podcast every week, everybody knows he wants to see everybody in the wrestling business doing well, but at the same time, he's going to call a spade and tell it how it is. So yeah, I'm not surprised. He's very critical, just like we are of AEW, and he just wants to see them do better. So yeah, that little dig, not surprising. That's right on brand for Eazy-E, no doubt about it.